Okay. Hi, guys, and welcome back to Masala Chai. Thank you so much for joining us. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about something a little slightly different about, where in this COVID world that we're living in and kind of coming out of a pandemic, hopefully, where do you go with your little one? And so I'll reflect on this. This is before pandemic, so just mind this. But there's a couple of places that I went for free. So one was the library. I used to take my babies to the library. They would have baby time, and then when I had older kids, they would have toddler time right after that. And so it would be just a nice kind of outing. It would take us about an hour where, we could go out, meet other moms and their babies, and everyone's kind of in a different stage and they're crawling. The toddlers would get to color and stuff, and so it was wonderful. And then got to introduce them to a library, so that was fun. So that was one. And then number two was Barnes and Noble. They usually have, and I've been in 3 different cities, so I hope this is consistent, but they usually have a train section and in the back area. And they used to do story time too, but I know they've not done that anymore. And they always used to have a Starbucks there with that. So I would get a Starbucks and then go sit in the train section, enjoy my Starbucks for 30, 40 minutes and let my kids play. And those were 2 places that I did. And I always say free just because, not because that I don't want to pay for anything, it's just that it's just easier. That you don't have to think about 20 billion things all at once for that. But those were my 2 go-tos. Where did you take yours, Nithya?
So with our oldest, we used to take him to the library a lot, and then the pandemic kind of hit around when our second was born, or not born, but when he was old enough to really go to the library. So we've had to do a lot of pandemic parenting with our little babies. So a good place to look is look at your city's website, and then they'll often list what parks are available. And then depending on the size of your city and the resources they have, some of them have free swimming pools, some of them have free splash pads. So for the summertime, that can be really nice. If you live in the city limits, you can take your kids to those places with no charges. Like for instance, we live in Columbia, and there's actually a whole water park that's free for kids. It's got like slides and all kinds of water structures in it. And as long as you live within the local counties, you can take your kids there without any charges. And then the other thing that we really like to do is we like to go to the zoo and the botanical gardens here. And it's such a nice resource because it's outdoors, but it's also, it's usually not as crowded as some of those parks, especially on weekdays if you have a little baby and you're trying to find a place to go. It's usually not as crowded during the week. And then it's just something a little bit different than the park, because then the kids can see animals or they can look at different plants. And our zoo has a really great like toddler area where they have places they can dig in the sand. They have building blocks. They have a huge like play structure it's kind of like a big fort that they can run around in. And so I think just finding cool stuff like that outdoors is really nice with a small baby. I think with COVID, we've just become more conscious of being in enclosed spaces with people that might be ill. And, anytime your baby is under like 2 months old, if they get a fever at that stage, then they may need to be admitted to the hospital. And under a month old, they get, pretty extensive workup if they get a fever. And so at least with our babies, we have been very, very cautious recently because of that. Of course, you don't want your infant to be sick, but then you also don't want to have to go through all of that of going in the hospital with a small child and figuring all of that out. So that's why we've tried to stick to outdoor things, especially with the pandemic. So, the zoo's been great. The botanical garden's been really nice. The parks have been nice. And then there's also some drive-through events locally. Like there's actually a drive-through zoo in South Carolina where you just drive through and the animals will come up to your car and they'll like eat out of buckets in your car if you want to feed them. And then they have a play area at the end where there's a petting zoo and a corn maze and stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, outdoor activities that I think are a little bit I don't know, they feel safer to me, I guess, with
Yeah.
all that's going on. And we've enjoyed all of them. Our kids have, done fine. They haven't picked up anything so far, knock on wood. But yeah,
And
that's some
then
of
it,
the
and then
choices.
also like so for example, like we live in Denver. It is cold outside. Like so what do you do then? And so I always think like try to think outside the box type of deal
Mhm.
too. And our numbers are going down here. Our mask mandates are kind of coming off. And so we're trying to, as a community, we're trying to get out of the pandemic. Little caveat what you said, under a month, please, please, please just be overly cautious because it is an automatic admission and an extensive workup. Over a
Mhm.
month to 2 months, talk to your pediatrician. It's not an automatic one, just depending on what the signs and symptoms are. But totally agree with you. Protect those kids
Mhm.
less than a month. And also, you don't really want to go anywhere 1 month postpartum either. Like even
Yeah.
just barely
Yeah.
going to the your own doctor's appointment, you're like, oh my God, this is so much. So
Right. Yeah.
um, so with that being said, so less than under a month, doctor's appointment, make them fun. Okay, so I get, and so let's kind of change what outing looks like. So first of all, I
Mhm.
always, when parents come, we always play a game about guess the weight, and there has to be a bet next to it, right? So like whoever wins a bet, and they usually are like diaper changes or you make dinner tonight. And so
Yeah.
you make that appointment a little more fun. And then right after that, I'm always encouraging them is like, go by your local coffee shop, get a drink, go sit in the park, just you two. If they have a toddler with them, then, just make it an outing that way. So like start thinking outside the box of what an outing looks like. So now your appointments become a little bit more enjoyable and something to look forward to rather than now I've got to haul everybody there. So that's
Yeah.
one. Number two, like I said, we're here in Colorado. It's coming out, but we're like it's like one of the coldest days here. Whole Foods. We have this massive Whole Foods here, and we used to do snack times at Whole Foods. So you would go through it and just be like, okay, you guys get to pick a snack, and then we'd sit down and we eat. And then the third place is you see this aquarium back here. We've had this for so long that the fish store, going to the aquarium fish store to buy fish food, became an outing because then the kids could just enjoy all the different fishes there. So I think kind of thinking outside the box and kind of saying where you are in your stage of life and how to create something more as an outing that is not taxing on you, that you can see that there's so much to even learn um, within just a doctor's appointment or going to the fish store to get fish food. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah. And I love the idea with the doctor's office. So one thing we do with our kids, so when we have an appointment for one of them, we always go and pick up Starbucks after because they really like the hot chocolate. So that's like their treat. So they know after we go to the doctor's appointment, we'll go to Starbucks and get a hot chocolate. Or there's a place called Vampire Penguin here that does, it's called Snow. So it's like a really thin snow cone with like a little bit of milk mixed in. It's kind of like a light ice cream. So our middle son loves Vampire Penguin. Like he's obsessed with it. So anytime we have an appointment for him, he always picks Vampire Penguin as his like outing after the
Yeah,
appointment. And
yeah.
it's got nice outdoor seating. And then being in South Carolina, it's like warm. Like right now, it's like 70 something degrees
Oh my
outside.
God,
So
so jealous. It's -1 here right now.
I don't miss that. So I used to live in New Hampshire, and part of the reason we moved is because it was so cold.
Mhm.
Like my husband's hair froze one time walking from our apartment door to the car. And then there was another day, his car got stuck in the parking spot. It was ridiculous. Sorry, that's a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, that's why I will never live somewhere that's super cold again.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
so with
our,
outings though, like Sona was saying, just like make those, usual day-to-day things you have to get done, make them fun for the kids. Like find things you can do, get them a little snack while you're doing your grocery shopping, or go explore the aquarium, let them look at all the fish and teach them about the fish. I
just
think
go
that's
to a
such a
fish
great,
store. Like,
yeah,
it's
good
like a
fish.
fish store. There's bound to be, and you're like, and then you never know. You might come back with a goldfish or a beta fish. Who
Yeah,
knows? You know.
yeah.
So I don't like. I mean, so full disclosure, I am. scared of dogs. So much so I've been bitten so many times that I've had to have the
Mhm.
rabies shot. But my kids love dogs, so we would go to the shelter also,
Mhm.
the animal shelter, to just kind of play with the dogs there, or Petco when they have their grooming days. And my second oldest son always meanders back and says, "I just want to go look at the cats and the dogs." And like you said,
Mhm.
that's an outing, right? Like, don't overthink
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah, for sure. And we used to have a dog, but he passed away about a year ago now. And so
yeah.
that's such a good idea. I'll have to take our kids out to the local shelter so that they can play with a puppy again. Because our oldest, like, he likes little dogs. He doesn't like big dogs, and now he's getting scared of the big dogs. Which, I mean, rightfully so. Like, some of them can be scary, but I think it's nice for them to, if they enjoy, animals, to be able to nurture that and let them enjoy the puppies,
Right.
do all the things that go into taking care of a dog.
Right. So the caveat for this one, don't overthink the outings. It has to be this elaborate thing. Your kids don't really need it. They just want to, enjoy. And yeah, just in the comments below, if you guys want, tell us what kind of outings that you guys went with your kids, or are going with your kids during this kind of weird time in our world. So, well, thank you so much, guys. Until next time, this is our Masala Aunties. And also, if you want us to talk about something, let us know. All right, bye.